All right, guys, today we are going to learn something new. We're going to talk about the Pythagorean Theorem. So we're going to break this down and go into steps so you can solve your problems correctly. The first thing that you need to know about the Pythagorean Theorem is that it works only with right triangles. So if you have an isosceles triangle, scalene, equilateral, it will not work. It is only with a right triangle. Now we're going to label the sides of the right triangle. We're going to label them A, B, and C. A and B do not matter. So I labeled this one A, this one B, but it could be vice versa. We could make this B, this A. The only side that does matter is directly across from the right angle. So if you put your pencil on the right angle, draw an arrow directly across, that will take you to the longest side, which is side C. That is called the hypotenuse. So A and B are your legs. C is your hypotenuse. C is the longest side of your right triangle. So the first thing that we're going to talk about today is if I give you 3 lengths of the sides of my right triangle, you're going to be able to determine whether it is a right triangle or not. Now, this all comes back to the Pythagorean Theorem. So this is a formula that does not change ever. It's supposed to be squared. There we go. A squared plus B squared is equal to C squared. Pythagorean Theorem. A and B are your legs. C is your hypotenuse. Okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to make up some measurements for the sides of my right triangle. And I will say that A is 3 inches, B is 5 inches, and C is 7 inches. Now remember, the C, the hypotenuse, has to be the longest side. So if I didn't label those on the right triangle and just wrote them out to the side, you have to make sure you correctly fill in what is what length, okay? So I don't know if this formed a right triangle or not, but we're going to prove it with the Pythagorean Theorem. All I'm going to do is put in the side lengths into my theorem. So A is 3, so it'll be 3 squared, plus B is 5, 5 squared, is equal to C, which is 7 squared. And now we're going to solve this and see if we have a true statement. If we do, then yes, these 3 measurements form a right triangle. If it is not true, then no, those 3 side lengths will not form a right triangle. So 3 squared is 9, 5 squared is 25, 7 squared is 49. 9 plus 25 is 34. Does 34 equal 49? No, it does not. So 3 inches, 5 inches, and 7 inches, no, do not form a right triangle. Okay, let's look at one more example. I'm going to draw another right triangle. I'm going to label sides A, B, and C. A and B do not matter, but remember C, your hypotenuse, longest side of the right triangle, and directly across from the right angle symbol. So I'm not going to label it on here this time. This time I'm just going to write it down here. I'm going to say 6 millimeters. Let me see, 10 millimeters and 8 millimeters. And I want to know, yes or no, do these 3 measurements form a right triangle? Well, I didn't label the measurements on the picture. I just have to see which one is going to be A, which one's going to be B, and which one's going to be C. C is your longest side, so it has to be that 10. So I'm just going to make this one A, this one B. They don't matter, but this one has to be C. Okay? When I put these 3 measurements into the Pythagorean Theorem, A squared plus B squared equals C squared. If I have a true statement, then yes, these 3 measurements work. Okay, let's try. Let's put in 6 for A, so 6 squared plus 8 squared is equal to C, which is 10 squared. You are allowed to use your calculator, so don't forget about that, okay? 6 squared, 36, 8 squared, 64, 10 squared, 100. 36 plus 64 is 100. So since 100 equals 100, the answer is yes. These three measurements form a right triangle.